Chapter 13. Diya looked around to her heart's content and said, "It's beautiful." She turned to look at her husband, beaming, only to realize that he was already looking at her with a smile and an unknown expression on his eyes that she couldn't decipher. She blushed a little. She did not understand why she always felt so shy and flustered around him. Is it because he was her husband, or is it something more? But before she could ponder more on this thought, Arjun spoke, walking towards her. He looked at her and said, "Do you know how I came to be a part of this family?" He gently took her hand and guided her towards his bed so that they could sit and talk comfortably. She shook her head in a no. Arjun sat on the bed and looked around the room, fondly remembering his life here. He turned to look at her and smiled, saying, "When I was 8 years old, my mother and my grandfather were killed by my biological father's brother. I don't remember much of what happened that day. All I remember was that I was going in and out of consciousness, and I remember watching my mother's scared and tear-stained face while she carried me in her arms and was running for her life. I saw her fall down, and someone came and stabbed her from behind. I tried to shout and save my mother, but I couldn't. And the last thing I remember before losing consciousness was my mother's smiling face. She looked down at me and gathered her last remaining strength and said, 'Live your life to the fullest, my love.' And everything went black, both for me and maybe even for my mother." Arjun's smile was filled with sadness and pain, which was visible to Diya. She took his hand in hers and squeezed it to show that she was listening and that she felt what he was feeling. He took her hand in his and kissed her knuckles before continuing. "And when I woke up, I was in a strange place that I did not know. It was scary. I waited for God knows how long before I saw my uncle, my father's brother, and my mother's murderer. He came close to me and wordlessly gave me a plate of food and left the room. I did not eat the food. I waited and waited for my father to come and save me, to tell me as to why he did not save my grandfather and my mother. But he didn't. I kept going in and out of consciousness, waiting for him. My uncle would come to where I was held and wordlessly leave a plate of food for me. I would yell and trash around, demanding why he killed my family. But he never answered. And soon I was saved by Dadu and Papa. I was brought home, but I did not let anyone touch me except for Ma. She reminded me so much of my own mother, the same gentleness and unconditional love radiating from her. And soon she became my world. She looked at me not with pity, but with love, and lots of it. She accepted me for who I am, and for the first time in weeks, I cried for the loss I had suffered, and she held me wordlessly, allowing me to release my pain, and comforting me by just being there for me. I was in a lot of pain, and was holding in a lot of anger and hatred in my heart, which needed to be released for me to heal. Maybe she knew that giving me privacy would help me release these emotions. So, in order to give me more privacy and space to heal, Ma had this floor cleaned and organized. She made a home for me here. Soon, I started to eat, but only when Ma was around. She would feed me with so much love that I had momentarily forgotten all my pain. She would stay with me all day and all night. And soon, I started healing. I slowly started to meet the others, and with time, I started trusting them. Needless to say, everyone was very patient with me. Gautam and Varun would spend all of their free time with me, trying to play with me and helping me open up. And soon enough, I started having meals with the rest of the family. But it took me a few weeks to start talking again. But I slowly did. Diya was looking at him with tears in her eyes. Arjun looked at her, searching her eyes for pity, but all he found was admiration and what seemed to be like love. He did not know if he was mistaken, but it warmed his heart to see that she did not pity him, but was genuinely sad for him, for what he had gone through, and for who he had lost. He broke out of his trance when he heard his wife ask, "Didn't your father know you were here? And did he ever come to take you home?" Arjun sighed and leaned back onto the headboard of his bed. "He did. I think Dadu and Papa had told him that they had found me and was living there with them. He came to see me after a few days. He looked at me once, but he probably saw how much I hated and resented him. He did not try to come close to me after that. I now know that he was sad and was feeling guilty for what had happened, but he did not try to talk to me or ask me how I was. He did not hug me and say that he was there for me. He just told Dadu and Papa to take care of me. He stayed here for a few days, but left without saying a word. And I think that left me with a lot of unresolved anger and pain. But somewhere deep down, I'm glad he left me here. Because by leaving me here, he may have taken a father away from me, but he had given me an entire family that loved me and that I had the fortune of loving back, he said. Now Diya was crying with tears streaming down her face. She only could imagine how hard it must have been for him to go through all of that as a child. Arjun smiled at her and wrapped her in his arms, allowing her to heal a part of him by feeling his pain and sorrow. They stayed like that for a long time, both comforting each other. When she had calmed down enough, she looked up at him and asked, "Then, are you no longer in contact with your biological father or your mother's side of the family?" Arjun listened to her question and thought about it for a moment before answering. "I have met him multiple times after that, just not in the capacity of a son, but more as a student and as a businessman. Papa sent me to him when I turned 18 to learn more about business. But we aren't father and son anymore. Not in the true sense, at least. It was Papa that was there for me, for all of my important events, successes, failures, achievements, big or small. So, in my eyes, it is Papa who is my father. I may be biologically related to that man, but in reality, I am Arjun Nanda, the son of Ashok Nanda," he said, looking down at her fondly. Diya looked up at him and hugged him back tightly, not wanting to let go. She slowly turned her face up and asked him, "Then how come this floor looks like this?" Arjun smiled at her and said, "I did this much later, when I was ready to confront those painful memories and was finally able to access the good memories of being with my biological mother. This floor is almost a replica of how I remember our house to be in Russia, the house that my mother designed herself," he said. Diya listened to him and nodded. She looked up at him, biting her lip, contemplating asking what she wanted to. Arjun understood this and told her that she can ask him whatever she wanted to. Emboldened by this, she asked, "Do you know why your uncle killed your grandfather and your mother?" And before he could answer, her stomach rumbled, making her eyes widen and her cheeks flushing in embarrassment. Arjun laughed a deep throaty laugh and hugged her tight. They stayed like that for a moment before Arjun said, "Maybe next time, love. But for now, let's go feed this tiny little tummy of yours." And they both stood up from the bed to go to the floor below to join the rest of the family. Well, that's it for this chapter, ladies and gentlemen. Please do tell me how it was and leave your feedback in the comment section below. I'll see you all again with yet another chapter. Until then, stay safe, take care, bye bye.